Ja, då är vi tillbaka här och jag vill hälsa alla varmt välkomna till Stora Aktiedagarna som aktiespararna arrangerar här i dagarna 3. Och nu är det dags att både byta språk och kanske bli lite... Maybe it's time to get a bit crazy because here next to me is the CEO of Wyld Networks, Alistair Williamson. Warm welcome, Alistair, and the stage is yours.
Thank you very much, David.
Thank you.
Well, good morning, everybody. Slight shift in language. I'll do the presentation in English. So I want to introduce Wyld Networks to you. So Wyld Networks is a virtual satellite operator for the Internet of Things. And today we're very proud to announce that we've expanded our product offering to include 5G NB-IoT for the satellite communications protocol that we're using at the moment. But I'll take you a bit further through our sort of expansion into the 5G market in a minute. But first of all, what's the problem that we're actually solving? So today, only about 15% of the world's surface has access to the internet. So only 15% of the world's surface has wireless coverage. The other 85% of the world's surface has no access to wireless networks and so no access to the internet. Now, predominantly, that 85% of the world's surface is in areas that are not populated by people, but they are populated by Internet of Things and devices and sensors that need communications. And it's this lack of connectivity that's holding back the growth of the Internet of Things from adding 2 to 3 trillion US dollars to global GDP in the next 10 years. So there's a problem. And at Wyld, we've solved this problem by developing a solution called Wyld Connect. And Wyld Connect is a solution that connects IoT devices to low Earth orbiting satellites to create an affordable and global 100% coverage solution for the Internet of Things. So using our solution, you can connect your IoT devices and sensors anywhere in the world and collect data. So I talked a bit earlier about the announcement of our 5G IoT satellite offering. And I just want to take you through the technologies that are actually used at the moment. So the technology that's currently used for low power, wide area networks, LPWAN technology, is currently used to connect devices in remote areas or IoT sensors in remote areas. And we use a technology called LoRaWAN to connect IoT devices directly to satellite. And LoRaWAN holds by 2025 about a 36% market share. And as I said earlier, we have made the decision to incorporate 5G NB-IoT into our offering. And as you can see with NB-IoT or 5G NB-IoT, that will represent about 47% of the market by 2025. So today we support LoRaWAN as a technology addressing that 36% of the market in 2025. And we're now implementing 5G NB-IoT, in reality allowing us to represent or address about 83% of the global LPWAN connectivity solutions for satellite IoT. So in adding 5G NB-IoT to our solution, both from a terrestrial perspective and a satellite perspective, it doubles our market. So we're basically going from a market of about 36% to a market or addressable market of about 83%. But not only does it double the size of the market we're going after, but I think more importantly, it brings a new set of customers we can address. And those customers are the mobile operators, the companies that have bought 5G spectrum. They've spent billions of dollars on 5G spectrum, and they want to use that spectrum not just for voice communications and data communications, but they also want to use it for IoT communications, to connect IoT devices and sell that service to their customers. So in broadening our access, our market share, in doubling our market share, we're also addressing a new set of customers. And I've given you an idea of some of these customers. They're the global mobile operators, Deutsche Telekom, AT&T in the US, Verizon in the US, Telefonica, Orange, NTT, KPN. There are hundreds of global mobile operators that have bought 5G licenses and want to offer IoT as a solution to their customers, and they want to be able to offer a solution that provides global connectivity, so 100% access. So our solution allows these companies to offer a solution to their customers to provide 100% global connectivity. But to just give you an idea of what the solution actually looks like, there's two parts to our product offering. There's Wyld Connect, which is a piece of hardware that's embedded into an IoT sensor. And I'll take you through some use cases in a minute. So, piece of hardware embedded into an IoT sensor, and that hardware delivers data directly to a low Earth orbiting satellite as it passes overhead. So it collects the data via the satellite, and when the satellite passes over a ground station, it delivers the data down to a platform called Wyld Fusion, and Wyld Fusion is our provisioning, security, and payment platform. Wyld Fusion collects that data, and then our customers are delivered that data via an API, and they can use that data to make informed decisions on all sorts of use cases, and I'll explain those use cases as we go forward. But as I said earlier, previously we were supporting satellite LoRaWAN, and now we've added satellite NB-IoT to our Wyld Collect product offering. And so just to look again at the two components of our offering, there's Wyld Connect supporting LoRaWAN and now 5G NB-IoT, and that's a piece of hardware that costs up to about $40, and that's embedded into an IoT sensor that collects the data and sends the data to satellite, and then from satellite to our customer through Wyld Fusion. So that's one part of our offering, and we've got orders to date of over 200,000 Wyld Connect modules since we launched our network on the 8th of December last year. Then there's Wyld Data, which is where we get our reoccurring revenues from. And the data part is a very simple offering to the market. You buy Wyld Connect to actually physically send the data to satellites and then to the customer. And then the customer pays us every month $5 per sensor to actually collect that data. So that's the service fee, and every month we get $5 per sensor or $5 per Wyld Connect module we've deployed into the field. As I said, to date we've got about 223,000 Wyld Connect modules in order backlog. So just to explain a bit about the use cases. So as you can imagine, considering we're offering a global 100% connectivity solution for the Internet of Things, we're addressing that 85% of the world's surface where there's no connectivity. So as you can imagine, the industries that have assets in those locations are in agriculture, in utilities, in the environment, in energy, oil and gas, in maritime, obviously in seas, and in logistics. These are the verticals that are all looking for connectivity in that 85% of the world's surface where there's no connectivity to date. And I just want to give you two use cases. If we take agriculture, 70% of the world's fresh water is consumed in agriculture, and 30% of that is wasted. So in agriculture, IoT sensors like soil moisture probes have been developed that are put into the ground to actually optimize the amount of water that's consumed, to actually reduce that waste of 30% down to close to zero. So those soil moisture probes get installed in fields all over the world. They need to collect data. We install our Wyld Connect device onto those soil moisture probes. That sends data to satellite. Satellite sends it down to the customer. The customer that can actually look at that data and then decide whether he needs to irrigate his field or not irrigate his field. So that use case is a particularly large use case for Wyld. And that use case has demonstrated that by using our solution, we can actually reduce the waste of water by an additional 30% of the 30% that's wasted. And also we can actually demonstrate that we can increase the yield of crop on the same footprint by up to 14%. If I take another use case, if we move into the oil and gas sector, there are literally millions of pipelines transmitting oil and gas all over the world. And those pipelines are traditionally located in rural areas. One of the biggest problems that the oil companies face is corrosion in oil pipes. So over time, the pipes corrode, then there's leakage of oil. Leakage of oil is a bad thing, creating environmental disasters, but also loss of revenue for the oil and gas companies. So they deploy corrosion IoT sensors onto their oil pipes to actually measure the amount of corrosion that's actually occurred within that pipe. But obviously they've got no connectivity because these pipelines are in areas where there's no connectivity. So they use our solution to actually collect data on the level of corrosion within those pipelines to actually make informed decisions as to when to go and fix those pipelines before it becomes an issue. So that's all about preventative maintenance. But there are multiple use cases ranging from measuring plastics in oceans, from measuring humidity and temperature in containers as they carry perishable goods across oceans. There are literally thousands of use cases where our customers are using our solution to collect data, and that data allows them to make good, informed decisions before there's a problem. I just wanted to give you an idea of, who our customers are. So our customers are companies like Chevron, Bayer, Syngenta, British American Tobacco, Sea Towers. These are companies that are in the logistics space, they're in the agricultural space, they're in the energy space. And our satellite partners are Eutelsat, Astrocast, Lacuna and DEWA, which is the Dubai Electricity and Water Authority. But to give you an idea of where we are, we launched our network in December the 8th last year. And as you can see, we've dramatically grown our order backlog. We've grown our order backlog. We've basically doubled our order backlog in the last 3 months. And we've grown our order backlog up to about 76 million krona, of which 13 million is the data piece. And proud to announce we actually received another order this morning for about 9 million krona for Wyld data. But about 13 million is currently data, and the rest of the order intake is actually Wyld Connect modules. But we expect to get more data orders coming in as well as Wyld Connect hardware modules. But we expect the data piece, because it's a monthly reoccurring revenue, to actually overtake our growth in respect to the hardware piece. So we see data being predominantly the largest contributor to revenue. So if you've seen or listened to me before, you'd have seen this slide with different numbers on it. But previously, when we looked at what our addressable market was, our addressable market by 2025, the total addressable market, as we saw it, was about $5.9 billion US. And that was just for the LoRaWAN piece. But now that we've added 5G NB-IoT to the product portfolio, we've basically doubled the size of our total addressable market to about $11.9 billion US. But what does that mean to Wyld? What is our market? What are we going after? So previous to bringing 5G NB-IoT into the product portfolio, we were looking at about $670 million US as our addressable market. by bringing the 5G NB-IoT piece into it, we're now looking at an addressable market for Wyld in 2025 of about $1.3 billion US, giving us a market share of approximately 9%. But before I end the presentation, I'd just like to go through just a couple of points as to why invest in Wyld. What's the investment highlights? I think you'll agree with me after listening to some of the use cases. We're solving a real problem. We're offering our customers 100% global connectivity for their IoT devices. So that's solving a real problem. And that's helping our customers address their environmental and sustainability goals in agriculture, in oil and gas. So we do solve a real world problem. As I said this morning, we've just introduced 5G NB-IoT to our Wyld Connect module, and that will actually double the size of our market. If you looked at the last slide, doubling it to a total addressable market of about $11.9 billion US by 2025. Our business model is very nice in that, yes, we sell a piece of hardware. It's up to $40 for the piece of hardware. But then we get our reoccurring revenues through the Wyld data, which is up to $5 per module per month. And that's the business model that allows us to drive the business forward and see the data portion of our business overtaking the hardware portion of our business. We are patent pending and have secured trademarks. I think quite importantly, just to end the presentation, we have built a significant order backlog since launching the network last year in December, and we have an order backlog of about 76 million krona to date, and we're building on that, and we're looking to generate further data orders and generate further Wyld Connect orders and start to roll the solution out. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Alistair.
Thank you.
Now it's time for some interesting questions here about your company and your technologies.
Sure.
But I have to start off with maybe a kind of Swedish question, because when you went to the stock market, I think it was like 1.5 years ago.
That's right.
Yeah. Your company from Cambridge in England, which we know maybe most from the headquarters of AstraZeneca and the
Yes.
big university there. Why did you choose to go to Sweden and not the English stock market?
Well, in the UK, there is a stock market that we could have got onto. It's called the AIM. Now, I would challenge anyone who's ever actually heard of the AIM market. The AIM market's designed for companies like Wyld. The reason we chose Sweden was not because of Sweden in particular, but because the Nasdaq has created a subsidiary in Sweden called the Nasdaq First North Growth Market. The Nasdaq's got an incredibly strong brand associated to it. So when I'm out in the US selling to AT&T and Verizon, large American companies, Chevron, you know, they see that we're backed by the Nasdaq. They recognize the name, and it gives them trust in us and credibility. So we basically took the Nasdaq mainly for its brand name, but also for the fact that we can secure manpower in Sweden that's very, very technically orientated towards wireless technologies. And so we do have access to good people that are experienced in what we're doing at the moment.
And now we got a question from the audience, which I think seemed to be very interesting. And it's a bit like 5G has been somewhat of a disappointment for Ericsson and Nokia. How will you profit from this technology yourselves?
I think where you've got to look at what we're doing is we've introduced the 5G NB-IoT bit into our product portfolio to basically double the size of our market access. You know, get us up to 83% of the LPWAN market by 2025. But what we've seen with 5G is the big mobile operators have rolled out 5Gs into cities, basically, to capture us. But what they haven't done is extended that 5G into more suburban and rural areas. And that's where we come in. So we're going to companies like Vodafone, Deutsche Telekom, AT&T and Verizon and say to them, we've got a device that you can put onto an IoT sensor, and if that sensor's inside the coverage area of your terrestrial 5G network, our device will send data to the terrestrial 5G network that you've already built. But if that device is outside of your terrestrial 5G coverage, then we'll send the data to satellite, and then from satellite back down to ground. So what it allows companies like Vodafone, T-Mobile, Verizon, etc., it allows them to go to their customers and offer them a 100% global coverage solution for the Internet of Things.
And one last question here. I got time for one more, and of course we have to talk about the thing that you presented today.
Yes.
Which kind of new possibilities does it bring for Wyld? And I also want kind of a forward look on what you think will be the most exciting things for Wyld in the upcoming years.
Right, so I'll address the second part first.
Yes.
So what's the most exciting thing coming up for Wyld in the next few years? So if I look at 2023, our focus in 2023 is to start to deliver to our customers in volume. 2022, we were building the solution, we were building the network, we launched the network on the 8th of December. 2023 is about executing and delivering solutions to our customer, adding 5G NB-IoT to our product portfolio to actually go after a larger slice of the market. And then moving forward, we see there will be new technologies coming into play that potentially will offer more real-time, bi-directional data capability, and we'll be taking those technologies, whether they're 6G, 7G, and implementing those technologies onto Wyld Connect so we can actually expand our offering via satellites to mobile operators and to companies in those verticals that have assets in the 85% of the world's surface where there's no coverage.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot of exciting things going on for you, Alistair, and Wyld, the company. But now I have to thank you for your time today. It was amazing having you here, and I wish both you and the company all the best in the future. Thank you.
Thank you, David. Thank you very much indeed for listening.
Tack så mycket.